How are my favorite girls in the world doing? I'm so excited to be here for another episode. The first episode of this month, June the 1st. I cannot even believe that it's already June, but I'm so grateful for it because this winter was wild for me. Like having moved out from Portugal, which is a fairly warm country, into the Netherlands, which is like basically the opposite, was such a big adaptation. And I feel like, since I, arrived here, since I moved out of my parents' house, moved into a new country, like everything has shifted within me. And I think I've really gotten to discover more and more of what I want my life to look like as an adult, more of what I want to build, more of how I want to live. And as you guys know, like a big part of that has been to be offline and live more. Like one of my biggest resolutions for this year, and I feel like I've been carrying this resolution for a while, but only now probably have had the understanding, the courage, the true intention of making it happen, of I want to create more than I consume, And I think sometimes we think that's only related to content, but it really isn't. I want to create my life, right? Ultimately, we are the creators of our own lives. And to me, that's been the most important thing this year. I want to create, especially now that music has become a bigger thing in my life. And I'm literally about to have my first concert ever. I'm going to throw my own, presentation, whatever concert. It's a very small place. Probably there's going to be 20 people. I don't know. And a part of me is oh, it's no big deal. Should I even call this a concert? But at the same time, I really want to validate this experience because I'm even getting paid. It's so cool. I don't know how much I'm getting paid actually, but it's the fact that, I have built enough of that consistency that now people can rely on me as in this is more than just someone who likes to sing. This is someone who wants to make something out of it. And I'm already being seen that way because of how I've been showing up for basically every open mic and all these other things, collaborating with artists. And I found a producer, and I've been producing my own songs. That's been insane to me. All of that has happened honestly because I just felt this such a big need to be out of my phone more, but especially just yap less, which is crazy because I'm such a yapper and I do love to have these conversations and just create a lot of content, blah blah. But even that, I just started feeling that's not what I want to do right now. Yes, there's so much that I always have to say, but right now I just feel it's not my time to say those things. It's my time to integrate. It's my time to take the things that I've learned in the last few years and really apply that to the life that I'm building here. And of course, that's not always easy, so many challenges, so many fears and doubts and blah, blah, but ultimately, I feel I've been able to trust myself more, and I've been able to understand who I am and what I want. And that separation from my parents was very important. I love them and I talk to them regularly, but having a distance that this is my life and I'm building it, and they're not there to give their opinion 24/7 or try to guide me, because as much as guidance is necessary in certain moments of your life, it has to be something that you want. It has to be something that you feel you truly need, because otherwise it's unsolicited advice type of, and it only actually intoxicates your path. So to me, it's been really important that I kind of close myself off to that sort of feedback right now, and I only ask it. I only open that door when I really feel I need it. And again, that's just been making me realize what I want to do in my own life. And of course, I don't have it all figured out, and I'm still pondering on the things that I'm going to do after this 1-year contract is over. But my point is that I feel right now I've built enough of a system and an understanding of where I want to go that, at least I know what I don't want. At least I know kind of, or having a clear idea of how to move forward. And again, I have been building that self-trust with myself, because that trust, it's really about showing up, the more you show up, the more you stack up that proof that yes, I can be trusted. I can be someone who's reliable. I can count on myself to do the hard thing. That is powerful. It's not about proving to anyone that you are capable, but it's to remind yourself that you can lean a little further into discomfort so that you can do the hard thing, because the hard thing is usually the necessary thing, right? Like the hard thing is usually what leads you to like evolving into more of what you want, and to truly like liberate you from like all these kind of like shackles and like fears and just restraints that we like hold ourselves in, because we're so scared of like just like exploring new territory, exploring where we actually want to go. And so to me, it's been really important to build up those stacks and do the hard things and like just explore, let myself live. This year to me has been about living and experiencing life from like a perspective of, I'm not doing it because I'm making content out of it. I'm not doing it because I want to prove to someone. I want to prove to my parents. I want to prove even to myself that I'm capable. I just want to do it because I want to do it. And so that's been it. And I think moving from that perspective, again, although not always easy, and it's been good to like have people that hold me accountable, especially like Lisa, my best friend, and you know, having had therapy for like half a year and then counseling for half a year, like all these different things 100% helped, right? But ultimately now I'm sitting with myself, and I'm actually not like currently investing in like a specific container or a specific coach or a specific whatever. I'm just like living with myself, and I'm choosing to use my money in other ways, which is also an investment, by the way, but just mindfully like understanding like, yeah, right now, like I want to put those resources elsewhere, especially now that I'm like producing my own music. Like that's like honestly like all that I want to do. I just want to give myself a chance, and so I'm really betting on myself, and I'm really like putting it out there so that I can live, so that I can truly live. And so to me, these last few months have been just like that kind of coming to life and understanding like, how can I bring more pleasure into my life? How can I bring more beauty into my life? Those things have been really important. And you know what, like the less time I spend like consuming content, and don't get me wrong, I scroll a lot. I scroll enough. Like my average time on my phone is like 6 hours a day, and I know a lot of that is scrolling, like most of that is scrolling. But the good thing that I find is that lately I'm also like reading my books and hanging out with friends and making bracelets and just like finding a lot of like different pleasure points in my life that are not related to like some kind of external validation that I need, that are not work related, and that are not relationship related as well. I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Well, I didn't know this was going to come up, but you know, I've been single for the last 3 years, and that comes with its own struggles, especially when reading these books. Like, oh my God, right? Sometimes that desire gets crazy. Sometimes like the crave, the need, the longing for like a man, for like a relationship, for like someone to hold me, for sex, like all of those things is intense, especially when everyone around me suddenly has boyfriends and relationships. I'm like, okay, just leave me here. Fine, sure. That's been hard to navigate. I've been journaling and feeling it and just processing it lately because it's just been coming up a lot. But you know what I've realized is that although I'm not in a relationship, and sometimes that bothers me, not because I necessarily feel like a relationship is like a need, but because, you know, I crave certain things. Who doesn't crave physical touch, you know? I mean, I don't know. Not me, you know? Who doesn't crave being cuddled with? Who doesn't crave sex? I mean, I was in a 7-year relationship. That was a given, you know? That was like an everyday occasion where I had this person's affection, and I had this person's like contact and touch and intimacy, and like someone I could lean on, for better or worse, because you guys know like it was toxic as fuck, but it does not take away from the fact that for a long time he was like a rock in my life, and he was someone that I like, you know, that I truly felt safe with. Yeah, like I truly felt like I could rely on this person. Like for a long time this person was family, right? And so to have that and know what that feels like, and then suddenly like that's gone, it feels intense. It's like a weird withdrawal effect, and sometimes it's intense, especially if I'm like ovulating or I'm just feeling more sensitive. Like that hits like a brick. Okay, it is the worst, honestly. But like, to me, navigating that has only been possible and like honestly bearable because there's, again, so many other pleasure points in my life. The fact that I'm working on my music and I'm finally pursuing my dream. The fact that I'm, going to concerts. I went to Harry Styles the other day. That's why I'm wearing this shirt, my Harry Styles merch that I used for the concert. That's why I have these books, and I'm loving the Akatar series, and I'm just gonna continue reading. And now I've also been like working out. Now that the weather is nice, I'm working out or doing yoga in my balcony, and just like building these little routines that like make a huge difference. I'm journaling every day lately, and I'm just trying to keep like kind of this like ritualistic type of routines where I can really feel like I'm being held, like I'm being supported. So like I can still create my peace of mind, because also what I've noticed is like when I go too much into like doing and just like, yes, it's amazing that I'm pursuing these dreams and it's amazing that like I'm putting myself out there, but then I also need time to be inward. So having those moments to like relax, to go to the beach, to read and journal and all of that, like having a moment to pause and also assess like, okay, am I still doing what I'm supposed to do? Like, is something out of alignment? That's always something that I'm reminding myself to do, or that I'm being reminded to do by my spirit guides and shit like that. Because, to me, it's always good to have like a moment to like continue to be intentional and ask myself, okay, is this still how I want to do things? Like, is this still like the right direction? Have I deviated a little bit? Like, have I been distracted with things that don't matter? Probably I have, if I'm being honest. Who doesn't, right? But so what I've realized to me is that, speaking of distractions, I was just so distracted with like a lot of things that, yes, I cared about, but were they my like actual dream? Maybe not. I love this podcast, and I'm always going to be seeing this as like a passion project, but I was seeing this as like my career path, right? I was seeing this as like, I have to make this happen because this is the direction I want to go. But truthfully, I don't think I was being fully honest with myself, and I was too scared to admit that like actually what I've always wanted is music. It doesn't take away from my passion around social media and the podcast and all of that, but it means that like, focusing on posting every day, focus on being like super consistent, basically like thinking about business 24/7. It took away from like so much space that like, I just occupied with that, rather than, like if I took some of that away and if I stopped focusing on like just the kind of like the distractions of my life, where would I put my focus? And, just like, why am I pursuing these like goals and this need to like prove myself and to be successful in this one thing, when deep down, like if I think about like everything that I want in my life, I'm not even like addressing the main one. I'm not even addressing my biggest desire of like, since I almost can remember. Okay, like I was 8 years old when I wrote my first song, and to me that means everything. Music means so much to me. It always has. And to like finally let that part of myself breathe and take up space, oh my god, it's been amazing. Like, I feel like I'm closer and closer to my dream life. And when I created my vision board, and I feel like I need to say that, a big part of that, I'm looking at it right now, like a big part of that is business related. Doesn't mean that some of those goals I still don't have. Like, yeah, some of those goals are still relevant, but just not as urgent as I was making them to be. The thing about the vision board is that it's okay that it changes throughout the year. I look at it and I definitely see that the central part of it is me singing, because I already knew that that's the direction I was taking with the counseling, with the therapy. Like, I was already starting to like peel off some of those like kind of lies that I was telling myself, the BS that I was telling myself. And I could already tell like I want to invest more in that part of my life, but like it completely unfolded since then, right? And it's been so cool to like spend time at the studio and like collaborate with other artists, and again having my first concert ever where I'm gonna sing my own original songs. And that's just the beginning, right? And that's been like, every time I do anything related to that, I feel like I'm living my dream life. I don't even have to be, selling out an arena and having like 1,000 fans and 1 million like followers or monthly listeners on Spotify. Do I want all of those things? Of course, but I don't feel like, I don't feel as attached to that. Like, I don't feel like I can't enjoy myself without having those goals met, right? Like, I'm enjoying myself all right. I'm enjoying myself all right. It's been so fun to create, and the amount of like, as soon as I opened that door, the amount of creativity that came through. I think that's also the thing, I was using a lot of my creative power, a lot of my creative energy and creativity into the podcast, into the Girls in Growth, which again, I do not regret. It makes me feel so lucky that I have this space that I can always come back to, and I hope you can feel the same, that you can always come back to this space and have some level of motivation. And I think that I will keep, doing content and showing up when it feels right, when it feels like I have something that I truly want to say. But if I don't want to force myself just because I have to post every day type of thing. I just don't feel like I'm there right now. And maybe I will be there at some point. Maybe that will change, or maybe not. And I'm okay with it, because you know what? I know that the people who have met me through here, they will keep staying here. Maybe some of you will still like continue to see me like in my music account, in my personal account, and see that path. Some of you maybe will just stay for like when I post one of these and it feels like a gem and it feels like the perfect timing for you to hear these podcasts. And some of you probably like even know me from music now. Maybe you've met me at an open mic, or you met me through social media or whatever, and then you're finding the podcast. So I know none of what I've created so far has been, a waste. And that's kind of the conversation that I really want to have today, because when we are growing up, we are taught to believe that there's this like specific path that you need to follow, right? Like, you go to school, and then high school, and then you have to go to college. You have to choose a path, and that path is basically what you want to do for the rest of your life, which is no pressure at all, right? And then, according to that, you have to like, then now you have to do a master's, and then you have to like take a job, and then blah, blah, blah. But like that mold, that structure doesn't fit everyone. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with following that structure, with following the traditional path. Believe me, sometimes I wish I would have. Sometimes I can't say that I regret my decision to dropping out, but I also don't regret it. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had stayed. Sometimes I'm glad I didn't. And sometimes, I know certain things would have been easier if I did finish my studies. And sometimes I know that like I needed to do this because I needed to find this path in this way. So like everything happened according to plan, sort of. But like rationally speaking, I can still wonder if like, yeah, wouldn't have been easier the other way. But maybe easier wasn't the answer, right? But my point here is that, and I was having this conversation lately, like, we think that the decision that we make at this point in our lives has to stick forever, and that's it. We think that our path is linear when it really freaking isn't. And when we force ourselves to like follow this linear way, when we like fight ourselves, really fight our true nature, which is to constantly evolve and adapt and grow and change, and we fight it because we feel like it's wrong to change paths, we feel like it's wrong to like readjust, we feel like it's wrong to pivot, we literally just suck the life out of us. And that has happened in my life so many times, where I thought it was wrong because, I'm quitting, I'm blah, blah, blah. But like, when you're quitting, when you're bullshitting yourself. Fear is loud as fuck, okay? Intuition is soft. Intuition is like that gut feeling that you have when you have to do something. When you want to ignore that feeling, that's when you know that that's your intuition, because usually intuition is raw. It's unforgiving in the sense of like, this is it. This is it. And it doesn't wait for like over explaining or over justifying. It doesn't try to rationalize why this is it. It just says it and you feel it. And that's why it's so confusing to our human brain, because it's like, why is it? Like, give me the pros and cons and give me this and give me that. And we just try to like understand it from a rational perspective when it doesn't always feel rational. Did it feel rational for me to come here? You know, my parents, especially my dad, he was saying like you should get like a regular job and like maybe work like for it with a team and maybe like try to like grow in a career, like because it's getting late in your path. Like you're almost 30 at this point and you think that you're basically like it's the end of everything, but it's really the beginning. And something that I'm so grateful for here is that I've talked to a lot of people that are older than me, and what I've figured out is like everyone is still figuring out. No one knows what they want to be when they grow up. Almost no one knows that. And that's okay, because maybe we're not supposed to just be one thing. Maybe we're not supposed to just like fulfill one specific purpose in our lives. We have so many, you know, the fact that before I did the podcast, before I did the Girls in Growth, I had a whole other account for like witchcraft stuff and tarot and like spirituality. That served its purpose, and at some point that stopped making sense, not because I stopped practicing it, but just because that wasn't what I wanted to share anymore, because I was also like, that felt settled to me and I wanted to move on, right? And the Girls in Growth felt the same. Like I loved sharing what I've shared so far, but like now it feels like, okay, I've learned all these things and I feel like I've shared so much around it, but now it's my time to integrate and use this for my real life and see where it takes me. And it took me back to music. I feel like everything I've been doing in my life has brought me back to music, but also it's not like I digressed, you know, it's not like I lost everything that I created until then. It's not like everything that I've done until then has been a mistake, right? Pivoting doesn't mean that you fucked up previously. It just means that like, okay, it's time to move forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not living a linear life, because life is actually never linear. And we were convinced that it was. And that has been the most stressful, anxiety-driven life that I feel like we end up getting stuck in, right? I feel like that anxiety a lot of the times is just the fact that we are not living in alignment with what we truly want. You know, it's the anxiety of like maybe all the potential and all the things that we want to achieve, but also the ways we are like, the ways in which we are getting in our own way, the ways in which we are sabotaging ourselves and blocking ourselves. But it can also be this idea of like everything that we need to accomplish that we actually don't want, that we actually don't need, that we actually don't even align with. Because why is it important for me to make this specific amount of money and to not work a 9 to 5? Why does it matter to me to like be married or have kids or do this and that by this amount of time? Like, who are you? Literally, who are you to tell me when and how and what I should do? Who are you? No one. You do not matter, right? Like, that's what I think that is so important. No one matters in terms of like their feedback, their opinions. Like, it's all biased. Only you know your own truth. And that takes guts. That takes a lot of courage, sure. Because to listen to yourself is to allow yourself to rely on yourself and accept that you might make a mistake, that you might fuck up, that you might have to take multiple tries, that you might find routes that then end up not being the one that you want. And that's okay, because life is about exploring and life is about like you finding more of yourself. But how can you do that if you're just following everyone's yapping, right? How can you do that if you're basically just like living your life according to someone else's rules and someone else's understandings of what life should be, according to someone else's beliefs? It's not fair to you. It's not fair to you. And to me, that's what I've realized. Moving out was so freeing, not because of anything different than the fact that I needed to listen to my own voice. I needed to understand what I wanted. I needed to understand, and I think that that's what I've been doing with my life since I not even moved out, like since I dropped out of high school, since I dropped out of college and I was studying marketing. I was studying in England and it was such a like big thing and my parents were always gloating about it. So imagine that. Imagine how I felt. That was probably one of the like only only times that I remember my parents like actually gloating about me. Not that it's not like they weren't proud of me, but I mean, I didn't feel that way always. And also because I always felt like my sister was the one that was following the right path and like always doing the things according to plan, and I was always the one like that was a little messier, and I was like drifting. Sometimes I had really good grades, sometimes I really didn't. So it was like very bipolar in that way. But like getting to that point where I'm like studying in England and things are going well, like the prestige, you know, and suddenly having to tell them like, actually, never mind, I hate it here. And I really did. No offense to England, really liked them, really liked the country. Just didn't love the college experience as much as I was hoping. To be fair, it was also during COVID, so that probably didn't help. But my point is, and also I was really depressed in general. So just everything, you know, together, it was not the best. But at the time, making that decision, you know, it was so hard because it just felt like maybe I was making the biggest mistake of my life. And again, sometimes I might have wondered that. I still do from time to time. But the point is that I'm here, and I'm here now. And through that path, through like choosing on my own and making those decisions on my own, yes, I have fucked up. Yes, I have made mistakes. Yes, it has been hard sometimes to figure it out, but I have found myself in a place that I feel like my younger self would have loved. That I feel like if I was looking like, or yeah, if I was like 10 years old again and I was looking at my life right now, I would have been like, wait, what? You've traveled? Wait, what? Like you're moving out and you're not even 30? Because I always had that fear that I would never be able to move out. And you're not even 30 and you've already moved out. You're already starting your life. What? You're going to One Direction concerts still? Like you're still going to Harry and Niall and Louis? What? You're reading books again? Like all the things that I loved as a kid, I'm doing, and I feel like I'm really living by my truth, by my standards, by my values. But I had to reevaluate everything, and that took so much energy, so much effort, and it wasn't pleasant at all. It sucked, okay? Because the good thing about following someone else's advice, the good thing about, you know, following someone else's structure and following someone else's path is that you don't have to think for yourself. It's the easy way out. It's the easy way out of taking responsibility for your life. But when you do that, you're also giving your power away. So it's no fun. It's no fun because all the pleasure, all the like rewards that you can actually feel, you're missing out on, right? The most rewarding thing is when you do it for you and you are listening to yourself and you are following your path. And I'm not saying you always have to do it alone. Again, I've had help, I've had support. You know, it's not like I never ask for advice. I do. But first of all, I'm very aware of the people I ask advice to. Mostly, I just reflect with myself when I feel like I really need to figure it out. I know that I'm the only one who has the answer. But, you know, of course I've taken feedback, but I'm reevaluating. I'm just not taking things at face value. I'm not taking other people's perspectives, other people's experiences as like the only truth. There's so many truths. Oh, like, but yeah, but like that area, yeah, like pursuing art, like that's really hard like these days, and like artists are not really well compensated. Okay, that's your truth. I'm not saying that's not a lot of people's truths. Doesn't mean that it's the only way. There's a lot of people making it in art. There's a lot of people, especially now with social media, that are like, you know, putting themselves out there and they're making money, that are being like discovered. So why wouldn't I be able to do that, right? It's the same thing of like, you know, like pursuing this specific degree or whatever. Like most people don't really get a job afterwards. Okay, that's you. Why should I take your word as the absolute universal truth when there's like 7 billion people in the world and there's like literally an endless possibility to like what everyone has done with that same degree, when like there's people who have been successful and failed in the same thing. Like there's literally paths for everything, and I don't want to take things at face value as like absolute truths. I want to question, is this something that I want to hold as a truth? So many artists have told me like, oh yeah, like it's very competitive, and oh yeah, like people give you kind of the side eye, and it doesn't feel like a friendly environment, and oh, be careful with this, be careful with that. And I know that it's come from like a loving, friendly way a lot of those times, but I'm like, I trust myself. I trust my instincts. I've learned to trust them because I've followed them for such a long time now. I've bumped my head many times and I fucked up, but I fucked around. And that helped me understand myself. That helped me understand like when I feel something is off, when I feel like something is meant to be done, when I feel like I need to pursue something. I've learned to understand what is discomfort, what is fear, what is like, okay, I need to do this and this is like growing pains. No, this is out of alignment. Like I've learned to discern between those things because I've learned to like experience. I've only learned those things because I stopped following everyone else. Because then you'll never understand your own like truth, right? Like you can't understand. You can't listen to your own voice if you don't listen to your own voice. You can't listen to your own voice if you're listening to everyone else around you. So at the end of the day, yes, you can listen to a lot of things and you can see a lot of different perspectives, and that's not wrong, but always go back to you and be okay with figuring it out along the way. Be okay that your path is not going to look a certain way, because that is freeing. I read this book that, oh my God, I recommend it so much. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. And it talks a lot more. It talks about a lot more than people pleasing, by the way, just to like let you know. It talks about life. It talks about happiness. It talks about the courage to live, the courage to be yourself, the courage to pursue your path. And so besides the people pleasing and besides the like relationships and stuff, like it talks about that. And one of the things that the book says right almost at the end of the book, that it stuck with me. I read this book like a couple months ago already. But it's like you need to detach from the destination. Yeah, you need to detach from the destination. You need to detach from where you want to get to, because it might not happen, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that it won't. It probably will. Probably the faster you detach, the easier everything will like flow. But what if that doesn't matter? Because what if you die tomorrow? You know what I mean? What if you die in like 2 weeks? Does it matter that you didn't get there? No. Like what matters is that you did your part and that you lived life to the fullest. And that doesn't mean YOLO and that you don't take responsibility. No, that means actually like you live in according to what you feel is right to you. You know, you live according to who you want to be every single day. And again, it's not a perfect, there's no perfect, what's it called? Equation for that. There's no perfect formula for that. But it doesn't matter, because that's the beauty about life. You're constantly evolving. It's like your life is a living being, right? It's growing, it's changing. It's like a cell, right? Not that I know much of science, but it's like, it's just constantly moving. It's alive, right? And so to me, that has been so important, be able to listen to myself and just understand, like, actually, like, yes, maybe that's your experience within the music industry. It's not going to be mine, because I trust myself and I know that I always attract the right people. Somehow I do. I'm not saying that I attract the perfect people. I'm not saying that my life is perfect. No, but like, I feel like I figure it out. I feel like I find my way, you know, because I've learned to do that, because I've been doing that. And I had like the best part about me, you know, dropping out. Again, I'm not saying that you have to in order to find that, but like the best part of me, like letting go of the things that I knew were like not good for me at the time, including my 7-year relationship and all those things, like it made me find my own autonomy. I think that's a big problem in today's generation. But in general, I feel like people like just want to pass the responsibility to other people. People just don't want to make true decisions. But it's so empowering when you do. Because not only do you find your way, not only do you like finally pursue the things that you actually want, but then you also find your capacity to like say no, your capacity to say yes, your capacity to do things that you thought you could never do, you know. It builds so much strength and it builds so much power and courage is everything. Okay, you need courage in order to live the life that you are meant to live. And courage, just like anything else, is a muscle that you train, right? And so having that like conversation lately, because sometimes I wish, and I've told you before, like, I wish my path would have been different. Sometimes I wish it would have been like more straightforward, and it wasn't. And that is something that sometimes, like, to be fair, I feel bad about that. I kind of pity myself for it, and I shouldn't, because I'm no victim. But like, sometimes I'm like, I wish I would have had it easier. But at the same time, again, that gave me so many tools. That gave me so much. And so I was commenting that with someone, and about how, like, I'm not sure what I want to do next, and I'm not sure, like, what path I should follow. And sometimes, of course, that scares me. Of course it does. Like, I'm only human, I'm only human. But it's the fact that acknowledging that is okay. Acknowledging that you're scared, acknowledging that you don't know what the fuck you're doing, acknowledging that, like, you don't know what happens next is fine, because you're not supposed to know. Not fully. You can know what you're gonna do today. You can know how you want to invest your energy and your time and your intention. You can find that out in this very moment. And maybe you can have some sort of image and picture, an idea of what you want and how you want to feel moving forward. But it doesn't mean that it always happens exactly how you planned it. And that's not a bad thing. That is not you failing, Just because things don't always go according to how you expect them does not mean you're failing. It just means that, you're taking another route. And maybe that route is going to give you things, going to give you tools, and going to give you experiences that you wouldn't have had otherwise, Me, like, dropping out of college, that gave me my best friend. That gave me the fact that, like, I've explored so many countries and I've lived a lot. That gave me a business, and that gave me my passion for music back. Maybe if I would have followed that path, I would have ended up in a different way. Or maybe I would have found my way, but it would have taken longer. Or maybe it would have, like, taken a harder time, because maybe I would have lost myself more, because I was sure losing myself and my sanity at that point already. So I knew, and I that's one of the reasons why I dropped out at the time. I just knew I couldn't handle it anymore for my mental health's sake. I just had to stop. All of it had to stop, because it was, like, driving me towards a really bad path, okay? And that was my decision, because when I thought, okay, who am I going to be 3 years from now? I was scared of that person. I was scared of what the results of living there and experiencing that life was, like, making me become. I didn't like who I was becoming. I didn't like how my life was being lived. And at the time I thought it was best, and here I am, and in that sense I have zero regrets, because I would definitely not be here otherwise. And so Enzo anyway, but so to me that's been so important to understand. If you are, starting to study and you're getting a degree and you're, like, scared that you might not choose right, it's okay. You can change your mind. That's also the thing that I feel like is so important to be said. Like, you can change your mind. You can change your mind at any point. You can decide something else at any point. You don't have to stick with the thing that your past self chose. Even if it's like, oh, I will die on this hill type of thing. Oh, like, I'm tattooing this on my skin. This is like a soul contract level of, like, commitment. You can always break free. You can always, like, say, no, I don't want this anymore. You can always say, like, actually, I've experimented this and I've changed my mind. Actually, this allowed me to see something else that I want. Actually, this has only showed me what I don't want. Like, it's okay. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay that your path isn't straightforward. It doesn't have to be. And I hate that so many people feel that way. I hate that I have felt so wrong for the way that I've lived, that I've existed, that I felt inherently wrong in my existence, right? Just because I didn't live like I was taught to live, just because I didn't do things in the traditional way. And that has killed me so many times. Honestly, that has been so heartbreaking and scary and lonely, and just this sense of, like, no one understanding, or no one or not belonging anywhere, or not really knowing my place in the world, because I thought I had to have this specific, hat. I had to wear this specific hat, and I had to fit into this specific box. And that has been so hard to bear sometimes. And, like, if I look at so many songs that I wrote, like, back then, yes, a lot of them were love songs, but a lot of them spoke of something so much deeper, of loneliness and a lot of, like, that sense of like, who am I? Where do I belong? Where am I supposed to go? Like, so many of my songs, actually, so much of the dread that I felt over my life and over the idea of like being single and like being on my own was because deep down, those were the questions that would always rise when I was quiet in my room. It's like, who the fuck am I? What am I doing with my life? Who am I supposed to be? Who, like, you know, that is scary because those are existential questions that is like the foundation of life, you know? When you feel like you don't have a place, it makes everything feel shaky, makes every single thing feel so unsafe. So you have to explore and you have to allow yourself to understand that you are a malleable thing, that you are a constant changing, ever-changing thing. I love something that Aurora, the singer, she said something in an interview, and I'm not quoting it at all probably accurately, but said something like, you know, I'm always changing. I'm not like this one thing, and I don't try to label myself. I don't try to like put these identities in myself because I just am, you know? I just am. Right now I'm this, right now I'm that. But I'm just am. And I love that idea that like, you know, I'm just living, and that's how I feel right now. Yes, I'm not doing the Girls in Growth all the time, but it doesn't mean that that's not a part of me. But it also doesn't mean that I have any sort of commitment with it. I get to choose, and right now that's not where I want to put most of my focus on. I was feeling like shit because of that decision, you know, but at the same time I also had to accept that like, okay, that's not it right now, right? And so it's like, it's just a path. And it's always changing, and it's okay that it does, because when you allow yourself to do so, you also detach from the things that don't serve you anymore, and you allow yourself to like continue, you know? You keep going in that natural flow of your life rather than like holding yourself back so often, rather than like creating so much resistance to things. You just like allow yourself to go. And that takes a lot of courage. I think that's the hardest thing, because we have learned, you know, no, it has to be this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, like, I don't know if that makes any sense. But there's no map. There's no specific way. Oh, not a crow standing right there. Love that. And so if you are wondering what the fuck to do with your path, if you're like confused, if you're not sure, it's okay. And I feel like that's just the message that I really want to leave today here. It's okay. It's okay. You're not lost just because you don't know where you're going. You know? You're not lost just because you're not fully sure of who you are. Because at the end of the day, there's always this one certainty that you can have, and that's the thing that you need to lean on in order to be able to like be okay with the moments of uncertainty, because those moments come. Those are inevitable. Change is inevitable. You can only resist it for so long, but it will happen. And if you don't let it happen, it just destroys you. So what's the point, right? And so you end up changing anyways to something worse than what you could, right? You end up being resentful or frustrated, and that's what I was noticing. I was resisting that change so much, so I was becoming very resentful. I was constantly under stress, constantly trying to pursue these goals that deep down weren't even mine, because I was trying to like prove myself to someone else. Why? And now I'm, you know, following music, and I love it. It doesn't mean that I don't have stress ever, but I do feel like I'm letting go more. I'm just like, right now I'm here. And here right now is okay. Here right now is valid. Here right now is perfectly fine. And there's nowhere else that I have to be. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. It doesn't matter if it feels like they're moving forward. I'm not, like, that's bullshit, because everyone has their own path. I'm not behind, I'm not ahead. I'm just in my own lane. And I can only move forward. You know, the only way I don't move forward is not because someone else is moving faster, apparently, or blah, blah. It's just because I'm holding myself back from my own path. That's the only thing that we could ever do. But when we don't, we're just moving forward. And forward is the only, like, answer we need, right? And so, like, the thing that you end up holding on to is, like, the idea of, like, even when I don't know who I am, even when everything feels strange, like I'm entering this new life, or everything feels unfamiliar, everything feels uncertain. Like, even in those moments where like fear really hits, I know that I can figure it out, because I have figured it out in the past. I know that I will find my way because I always do. I know that I have the capacity to face this, whatever it is. I know I can do this. And of course it helps when you have people around you that like support you, that love you, that give you that strength, but you can be that force for yourself as well. And maybe it takes building up, it takes repetition. It takes you doing one uncomfortable thing here and one uncomfortable thing there. But like ultimately you can build that. And when you build that sense of like reliability, it becomes easier to like, explore. It becomes easier to like, there's a word I'm trying to look for, but I can't remember it. But just, it becomes easier to take off on your own and really like discover your own path and find out what your life gets to be, right? Maybe it's not everything that you envision, or maybe it is, or maybe it's so much more, but it doesn't matter because ultimately it's shifting. And when you learn, you grow, and that also changes you. And so like everything feeds on itself and it like creates your life, right? And so the power that you hold in that decision, the power that you hold in your path is simply the power of like, I'm going to choose what I can best now based on how I feel, based on like what my instincts are telling me, based on where I want to go. It's okay if that changes. And if it changes, I will make another decision because that power is always yours. That power is always yours. And that's, I feel like what has given me a lot of peace of mind. I stopped looking at myself as this like project to be fixed, as this thing to be like, just like perfect. I don't want to be perfect. You don't have to have the perfect mindset. You don't have to have the perfect routine. You don't have to have the perfect whatever, the perfect circumstances to live your life and feel satisfied and feel fulfilled and feel like you are doing something that makes you feel happy and feel like you are living in a way that like your younger self would have loved, that your younger self would have been only dreaming of, You don't need everything to be perfect. Because when you are living in alignment, you don't need the results. You don't need the like external validation and the proof that you're making it because you are literally in it. You're literally living the dream already. When I sing at the open mics, I already feel like I'm doing something for myself. When I'm doing this concert, I already feel like I'm doing something for myself. When I'm at the studio, I already feel like I'm doing something for myself. When I'm reading a book in bed, laying in bed and I'm relaxed, I already feel like I'm doing something for myself because that's the type of life that I want. Because I have, and that's where you can take your cues as well. You can look at people around you and like, if there's things that you really don't want, like I don't want to feel distressed when I like finish my work. I don't want to feel this way and I don't want to be like that. And I don't want my relationships to look like that. That was my gift throughout my life, okay? It was to see the contrast between what I really don't want and then in my adult years experience more of what I want, and that has given me a lot of clarity. Sometimes we experience a lot of contrast in our early years so that we understand what we don't want, because that also gives us clarity. That's also like a way for us to like guide ourselves, right? I know I want to move back with my parents, like I know that. So I'm going to do whatever I can do and I'm going to like find a way to not go back, right? So that's already an answer in and of itself, right? And I already know that I don't want to just work my 9 to 5 and that's it. I want to have my day filled with meaning, filled with purpose, filled with things that like make me happy and that make me feel like I'm actually living my life. I know that I don't want to spend my weeks at home, that I want to have dynamics, that I want to go to the beach, that I want to meet friends. I also know that I love spending time by myself and I don't always want to be outside, that I also want to have moments where I read my books, where I'm relaxed. I know because I've seen other people scroll on their phones all day that I don't want that. I love scrolling and I love that entertainment, but I also want to entertain myself in other ways. So I've been finding other ways to entertain myself, so that is also guidance, but that has also shifted. I love reading, but I'm not always reading all the freaking time. And I love making bracelets, but it comes in seasons, it comes and goes, and it depends on your flow, it depends on your mood, and that's fine. And the more I embrace that, the more I embrace those like flows, those cycles, those like seasons, the more I like control less what it's supposed to look like, and I just like let it shift as it goes. always honoring myself and always remembering that I get to choose. And if I really don't want something to go a certain way, like I can change. But like, you know, understanding that like my own body, my own needs, my own desires change with time, change with the seasons, change with whatever. That's okay. And when I let that go, it really creates so much more peace and so much more like relaxation in my life. And to me, that's been really important because that's one of my like values. It's inner peace. It's a peaceful state of mind. It doesn't mean that it's peace as in boring. It doesn't mean peace as in like, oh, I never have anything that feels threatening or scary or like uncomfortable that I like adventure into. No, like I do that plenty. It's the peace of knowing like it's okay to be where I am. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be and I can count on myself, you know? That's the peace. It's not the constant like chatter of the brain. It's not the constant like anxious anxiety struggle of like, I need to prove myself. I need to get somewhere. The detachment that comes with that, you know, the stoicness that comes with it. Maybe I should read a book about that, stoicism or however you say it. I know it talks a lot about detachment, and I feel like that's something that like I want to have more and more of, not to myself, not to the things that I care about, but to the things that like I don't have to control. Because when you try to control the things that you can't control, that's what gives you anxiety. That's what makes you stress. And there's no point in that. I've seen a lot of stress in my life, and that's one of the things that I always felt repulsed by. And sometimes because of that, and I also feel like I need to say that, because of that, I have ran away from things that were hard and that were challenging, and that like at any side of stress or like uncomfortable or like a little bit of, you know, a bit more effort, I wanted to run away from it because I felt a complete like disgusted ache around like stress, because that's all I knew my entire life. And so also understanding that balance. It's okay to feel stressed at times. It's okay to feel some level of anxiety and fear, and it doesn't like, your life doesn't have to look like happiness all the time. I have plenty of emotions on a daily basis, okay? Dealing with that and embracing all of those, that's what has given me peace. That's what has made me feel a bit more balanced and stable in who I am. Not because I always feel happy, not because it's always like this ecstasy type of feeling where I'm like super excited all the time, but because like, you know, yeah, I'm sad right now. Yeah, I'm feeling lonely right now. Yeah, I'm scared right now. Yeah, I'm anxious right now. Yeah, I'm really happy right now. Yeah, I'm hyped. Yeah, I'm insane. Oh, yeah, I'm horny. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty lonely. You know, like embracing all of that, that's what's given me the most peace of mind. Embracing that, yeah, like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing next. Yeah, like right now I have this clarity. I don't know what that's going to look like tomorrow. Yeah, I'm doing this. I don't know what the outcome of this decision is going to be. All I know, again, where my power lies is in the knowing that like, I'll figure it out. Like everything is figure outable. I know that I can figure it out and I can, you know, find my way because I always have. And you always have too. Believe it or not. Whether you've fallen many times, whether you've like stumbled, you got back up because you're here. So that's not a coincidence. That's proof. So lean on that. And lean on the fact that you have nothing to prove to anyone. Lean on the fact that like, you're already so enough. You're already so worthy. You're already like so valid in your existence. You don't have to prove to anyone that your existence is valuable and that you deserve to be here. I think that's also something that I really needed to accept. Like, I exist, therefore I am worthy. I'm worthy of existing imperfectly. I'm worthy. I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to prove that I'm like worthy of love or praise by the people around me. I don't need to prove that I can be enough, that I can be successful, that I can be lovable, that I can be like what my parents would be proud of. I don't need to prove that. Whoever feels that way about me, good. Whoever doesn't, okay. And I'm just really trying to find that. And I think that has given me the most peace. Just focusing on me, just focusing on my own lane and not caring about whatever the fuck everyone else is doing. And let that just sit with you. I feel like I'm already going in circles a little bit, but I hope this episode and I hope me being back here when it matters, when I feel like I really have something to say. I hope that makes sense to you too. And I hope you keep, listening to these episodes whenever they come out. If you haven't listened to the past ones, maybe there's a message for you there. And, you can always support me by going into the store, and there's like really cool meditations there. You can still get a tarot reading from me if you feel like you need some extra clarity, or that you just like feel like you need a little push, like you need something to like understand your path more. That's also valid. I also do that from time to time. Like, yes, I don't rely on my tarot 24/7, but from time to time it's good to have like that higher perspective. So whatever it is, the Girls in Growth store is there and has a lot of cool shit for you. So go check it out. And yeah, make sure that you share this podcast with someone who might want to hear it. I love you, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.